you have to like the person you're representing. You have to believe in them 100% in their talent, and the hardest part emotionally is telling them when they're doing something wrong. As a manager, I don't have the time to represent someone that isn't a good person, and I don't have the time to represent someone that isn't going to work as hard as me. Hi, my name's Styne. I was an agent for 25 years. I worked at CA and I worked at ICM, and I just started a new company, Definition Entertainment, which is a management and production company, as well as has a music division.
Hello Nick, you became an entrepreneur 2 years ago after 25 years in a big company. You were one of the biggest agents in CA, a huge company. What is the difference between being an entrepreneur and working in the corporate world in that field?
Well, being an agent is working for a big corporation. I would say the difference is that the easiest difference is that I have now, I'm a manager, which is very similar in a lot of respects to being an agent and very different in a lot of respects. I can do anything I really want to for my clients. I can produce with them, build companies with them, go on boards of companies, but most importantly, it's just representing talent. That's what I do. That's what I still do. It's just I have less clients and I do more for them. And I'm not working for anyone. I'm working for myself. So those are the big differences, and yeah. It's been fantastic. I didn't know what it would be like to be on my own versus having worked with thousands and thousands of people.
It was a bold move for you. I mean, after all those years, you know.
It was a bold move.
You took a chance.
It was a risky move, but I didn't really. Now was a good time to do it. I wanted to see if I could be my own boss and if I would like it, and if I was good at it. And it's all been really good, so I'm really happy.
So you represented very famous people like Cameron Diaz, Justin Bieber, the Jonas Brothers, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, and the list is very long. And you have a strong ability to promote young people, to help them in their career. Why did you make that choice?
It's twofold. Number one, I didn't like stealing talent from other people. I like to find it in the beginning so that I could just develop the talent from the ground up. I found that part of the business, poaching clients from other agencies, and I didn't like that part of it at all. So my first client that I ever worked with was Cameron Diaz from the beginning, and she was an unknown, up and coming actress model, and so I would say that started the ground of that I could find talent myself before anyone else. There's a lot of different skill sets you need to be an agent. I would say there's the 3 S's, which is signing, servicing, and selling. So if you have to identify talent. That's what I'm very, very good at. Not everybody is. And then you have to sign them, so convince them to come to the company. And then you have to service them, which is talking to them, finding out what they want, speaking to them, and selling. And servicing is making sure everything in their life is okay. And then selling them. Selling is going out and getting them jobs, or getting them opportunities to get jobs, because they have to go win them quite often in the rooms. So that's sort of, if you're good at all 4 of those things, then you can be one of the best. You don't have to be good at all 4. You can be good at 3, or you can be good at 2 and still have a really great career. It's just that, that would be the best way I could describe that. You asked about young talent, why young talent?
Yeah.
So after realizing that I wanted to spot talent, somewhere along the line, after I'd been an agent for about 10 or 12 years, I decided that I was representing Britney Spears, and she asked me to look after her little sister, who was 9 at the time, or 10, and then I put together a television show with her at Nickelodeon called Zoe 101. She was a little girl, like a 12 or 13-year-old at the time. I realized at that point how bad the deals were for all of these young actors. They were being taken advantage of terribly badly, and there are these 360 deals, as they call them, which are deals where they get every single thing. They get their music, their every possible part of their career. This is all before social media I'm speaking of right now. So then I ended up representing Selena Gomez, and then I went to the Jonas Brothers, and I went to Anna Sophia Robb, and I went to all of these young amazing actors, which also segued into my love of music. So with the Biebers and the Arianas and all of those music, and the Jonas Brothers and One Direction and all of those music clients, there was a music department really handling them. I was just doing the film and television side and helping them with other things in their lives. But they also had their own managers. So I think the thing about kids is they were being badly represented. So I decided to take as many of them as I could in that space that were great, and protect them and make them better deals. And then social media was created, and it was almost as if I was a genius, but I didn't see that coming, because I had all of these kids that had the power to talk to millions and millions and hundreds of millions of people. I mean, Selena's probably at 150 million now, but these people get so much power for the first time. So then the value of all of the people I worked with went through the roof in their value, so that I could prove to people that it was quite, it was worth signing them up for brands or deals or all sorts of other things outside of just their acting or their music. So social media became the thing. I was way ahead of it in that most of the clients I had were the top social media people, and obviously that all happened very, very fast.
You are such a professional, and yet we can see, I can tell you're emotionally involved with your clients / artists, you know. How do you keep the balance between business and emotions?
Good question. I think you have to go into it. As an agent, I went into it just who's talented, and I had so many other agents working with me that we were able to, you know, all work together. So you could put up with a little bit more antics and drama and personality flaws. But as a manager, I don't have the time to represent someone that isn't a good person, and I don't have the time to represent someone that isn't going to work as hard as me. So it's completely different. So now, for me, it's as a manager, but similar to an agent, emotions, you have to like the person you're representing. You have to believe in them 100% in their talent, and you have to think their head's screwed on properly, and they're not a bad person. If someone's acting like a spoiled brat when they're 18 to 21 years old, it's only going to get worse when they're famous and they have money. If someone's like a really nice, generous person, like Cameron Diaz was probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. She did not change at all for 25 years. Not anything changed about her other than that she was, was recognized and her life changed. She didn't change as a person. So Lily Collins hasn't changed as a person. These are people that were good human beings. I believe that is essential. And so now for me, the emotions come with, some clients become like your friends or family, and some don't. You can't go into it hanging with a client because you're friends. You have to believe in them. And the hardest part emotionally is telling them when they're doing something wrong, and having to have the guts to tell a client that they don't look good, or they weren't prepared, or their girlfriend's distracting them, or their boyfriend is not good for them. Whatever it might be, you have to be able to tell someone, you need to work harder, you need to do this, you need to get to the gym, you need to change the color of your hair. All that stuff is hard to say to people because you're knocking them, but you're trying to make them better. So while trying to make them better, like anyone else, it's not different than any other relationship. You have to have the guts to tell people what you think, and they're paying for your opinion. So a lot of agents and managers, I find, don't have the guts to stand up to their clients, so they're enabling their bad behavior, and they get worse and worse and worse at whatever flaw it is they're doing. So you have to have the guts to stand up. Now that's very hard as a young agent or a young manager to sit there and come in and tell someone, because you need to earn that respect. But I feel like you can see it in the beginning. There are certain people that just are never going to have the guts to do that.
So you said your role model is your father. Styne was a fantastic composer.
Yeah, where'd you read that, in an article? No, that's true.
Yes, I did, in fact.
That's interesting.
He was a famous composer on Broadway. Yeah. He wrote, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Funny Girl. He won an Oscar in 1955. He wrote so many film scores, so many famous songs. And by the way, one of my favorites is Let It Snow. Let It Snow. It's still my favorite. It's been for a long time. I love it. I didn't know it was your father.
Yeah, there's 154 versions of that song that have been recorded.
That's incredible.
I think, something like that.
So what is your relationship? What did it change in your life? You grew up in the industry.
He was my best friend. He was, when he had me, he was 59 years old. For starters, that's very old to be a father. He had my sister when he was 62. So we were second marriage kids. And it was having a dad. Forget about the the part of how famous he was and that. It was more having a father that was home every single night for dinner was like living with your grandfather, in that he didn't go out at night. He'd go out to the theater and stuff, but he wouldn't go out, with his buddies every night. He'd be at home and he'd be writing or watching TV or something. And so I'd have dinner with him every night, and he'd be home every night. And rarely do you see that. Most of my friends, their dads wouldn't come home till after dinner. So then, so I think that was a very important thing. He also took me everywhere with him. So I went to all these opening nights. I was going out in black tie 3 nights a week, to every opening, to Lincoln Center, to the ballets, to the operas, to the symphonies, all that stuff. So I grew up very fast in New York with my father taking me into adult situations. He would take me to the racetrack on Saturday mornings with his friends. I was the only kid there. It wasn't a normal existence. I would go with him on the road with some of his shows. He would take me to boxing fights in Vegas and all sorts of stuff. And that was a great thing. My father was a great storyteller, and he was also, the problem is that he was the center of attention everywhere he went. He told the best stories. He could get on a piano anywhere and just kill it, and people would always ask him to play or stuff, or they want to hear his stories. So the only flaw is growing up around that, you don't get to really be heard outside. But when we were alone, he would just only listen to me and give me great advice. So there's, it's that kind of thing. I would say he's the reason I fell in love with the business. I was a musician. I played in a band. I was going to go into music. I worked at a record company. I worked at a publishing company. And I decided not to do that because I wasn't talented enough. I had talent, but I wasn't really talented. And I was never going to get there. And if you're the son of a brilliant child prodigy, genius songwriter, it's kind of hard I didn't want to be known as that, like some son that's not as talented. And so I just recognized that. And I was doing all the music, and then I worked, there was a little thing that came out called MTV when I was 15, and I started working as a PA on music videos, and I fell in love with music and film together. And what I realized was these were movies, these were films, these were little films with music, and I fell in love with film. So then I ended up going to school for film at NYU, and then I ended up coming out here because once again I realized I had zero talent as a director. And so I said, wow, I can't direct yet. That's what I thought I would do. And then I moved to LA, and I just didn't know what I was going to do, but I just took a lot of research and time and odd jobs. And then I met Kim Basinger. I was her assistant.
Wow.
At the height of her career, off of Batman in those days. And her agent was a friend of mine, and he convinced me to be an agent. I said, I want to be an agent. He figured it out for me. So that's how I became an agent. And I think that it was normal for me because of my father. Going back to that, I think he allowed me I was around so many famous people growing up that it didn't faze me. Athletes faze me. If I see Kobe Bryant or Derek Jeter, I'm going to freak out like any fan would. But if I see any actors or music artists, it's kind of
just normal.
It is, for some weird reason, and I think that gave me the ability to be very comfortable meeting actors, representing them, talking to them, because I treated them exactly like normal people. It wasn't as exciting for me. It was exciting to find something I loved to do because my childhood was ridiculous. So I had so many stories and things that I kind of just, it was good for me, this job.